Yo, what up, fam? It's your boy, Big Walt, back with more Blockchain 411. You see the title of the video, so you already know what I'm about to get into. But you might say, why? Well, I'll tell you why. Since the Biden administration has come into office, it seems like at every turn, there's been attacks on cryptocurrency and blockchain innovation in general. And if you've seen, my previous videos about this, everybody from Janet Yellen, who's denigrating blockchain as, not only, not eco-friendly, but also, as a tool of nefarious persons, to facilitate transactions, for illicit, crimes, as though, fiat currency isn't the king of the mountain, when it comes to facilitating, the drug trade, murder for hire, et cetera, et cetera. So, Janet Yellen's come out, that we need to stomp down, on blockchain. Biden appointed Gensler. Gensler's, come out that we need to stomp down, tighten up, on cryptocurrencies, et cetera. You can see that in my video about Yellen. Also, there's that video, I did about Ted Cruz, because Ted Cruz tried to block this crypto legislation, which is a financial technology concern. It's a fintech concern. And Cruz tried to block the passage of that, or at least amend it out of the Senate's, Joe Biden's, or the Senate's version of Joe Biden's, multi-trillion-dollar infrastructure bill. Ted Cruz was absolutely right. That should not be in that bill. That should be handled separately so that, people and experts can focus on it, have debates about it, et cetera. But obviously the Democrats stopped Ted Cruz from making any such amendments. And so, it just seems like at every turn, the Democrats are trying to, they're basically trying to, force it so that innovation in Web 3.0 can't happen in the United States, to force, all this innovation in other jurisdictions, who will eventually own those markets if we don't, which would be a huge lost opportunity. Anyway, there's a lot more to it, and we'll dig into it, on the other side of the intro. Rock with me. Remember back in the day when Kanye West, made that statement on live TV about the then president, and he was with Michael Myers in the scene, and Myers, he looked like he had just seen like a ghost, and he was trying to find the closest rock so he could go hide under. Yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling right now as it relates to cryptocurrency, blockchain innovation, and Democrats. Straight up. So, why am I feeling this way? Well, in the opening, I kind of ran down a list of certain things that I'd already reported on, or brought to your attention rather. And the hits just keep coming. So, let me just show you a couple of these articles that have me thinking about this today. So Decrypt has this article titled, quote, overlooked. I'm sorry. To edit that out. I'm going backwards. The Block has this article. House committee approves crypto tax provisions as budget reconciliation package advances. So, this is in reference to, the new tax treatment, for cryptocurrencies, in this infrastructure bill. So let me just read through the overview here. Quick take. Tax provisions for the budget bill have left the committee responsible for them. The new provisions will apply some limits on tax loss harvesting familiar to traditional assets to digital assets. These provisions are unlikely to change in the House given the compressed timelines to which the Democratic majority has committed. I mean, compressed timelines is no excuse for passing bad legislation. It's just no excuse. The article goes on. The tax section of the $3.5 trillion, quote, Build Back Better reconciliation package has left the House of Representatives committee responsible for ensuring revenue with new rules for cryptocurrency attached. Wednesday afternoon the Ways and Means Committee voted to transmit its draft to the Budget Committee. The vote was 24-19, with Democratic Representative Stephanie Murphy being the sole member to break party ranks. The House Ways and Means Committee is responsible for legislation that touches on taxation. It is consequently an extremely powerful subgroup of Congress. Given Democrats' determination to push the budget bill through intact, the current language is unlikely to change without serious upheaval in the Senate. Before transmitting the broader provisions to the Budget Committee, the Ways and Means Committee voted to approve an amendment including a new subsection that adds digital assets to rules on wash sales in so-called constructive trades. As the bloc reported earlier this week, Democrats on the committee floated the new rules as a means of reducing tax loss harvesting among crypto trades, part of the overall effort to expand revenue to fund the provisions of the broader agenda. Quote, if this version of the bill were to pass, crypto holders will have to wait 30 days before and after buying the same coin he or she sold at a loss. If you buy the same coin without waiting for 30 days, the IRS would not allow you to deduct the loss as a capital loss in the tax year. That said, note that the taxpayer will not completely lose the tax benefit of the loss. It will be deferred. The loss would be added to the basis of the coin. So when you later dispose of the coin, it will result in a lower capital gains. Coin tracker Sheehan Transekera told the bloc in an email. The component parts of the, quote, Build Back Better budget bill have been shifting between Democrats of the House and the Senate for weeks, ever since the House approved a framework for the budget at the end of August. Coordination between the House and the Senate is critical, as Democrats are trying to tie the legislation to the infrastructure bill, which has more bipartisan support. Anyway, I mean, we're still in the very nascent stages of this industry. The business models, the business opportunities, the new innovations to come have not even yet been conceived, and they're already trying to put the hammer down and make it exorbitantly expensive for anybody to work and build in this space. And who does this hurt? This hurts the small entrepreneur. This hurts the small business. This hurts everyone except for large corporations with, billions of dollars, in reserves that can afford to do this stuff, right? So, out of one side of their mouths, they talk about, being for the common man and the masses. And out of the other side of their mouths, they're promoting this legislation that basically empowers and supports huge incumbents. But that's might not be the worst of it. So there's this other article that I chanced upon in Decrypt. And it's got some additional information that's kind of, disheartening. Anyway, quote, overlooked part of Senate infrastructure bill renews worries from crypto lobby. While many have fretted about a change in tax reporting requirements for digital asset brokers, another section of the bill has gone mostly unnoticed. And that's referring back to the original part of the bill where anybody in the cryptocurrency value chain, whether you're a miner or whatever, they're saying you have to report, to the IRS, KYC information. And if you're a miner of a Bitcoin node, you have no idea. You're not doing KYC, all the way, at the client side to determine who's doing what transactions. You don't even have the technical capability to abide by, that regulation. So it's a setup. Like it really feels like it's just meant to destroy the entire market before it really, gets going. There may be some reasons why some want that to happen, because, one of the major tenets of cryptocurrency and blockchain in particular is decentralization and disintermediation. And disintermediation is all about eliminating third parties from the value chain. Third parties who facilitate various transactions, they tend to extract value from those transactions in the form of a tax. And if you remove them, they no longer have the ability to levy that tax. And in many cases, that tax represents a huge revenue stream for them. So they don't want to lose that huge revenue stream. So anyway, they have a lot of motivation for not wanting to see this blockchain Web 3.0 revolution, which is really all about decentralization and disintermediation. So yeah, I'm sure they're fighting like hell to do it. And who has influence over our politics? Who has influence over the politicians? Large corporations and incumbents with huge war chests of money that they can spend on lobbyists. Anyway, I don't want to get super duper political, but we are talking about politics and legislation. I need you to do me a favor, fam. Please click that subscribe button and the like button. It might be a small thing to you, but to us it's huge. We're trying to hit this 1,000 subscriber milestone one subscriber at a time. So YouTube will recognize us and give us access to the tools that will allow us to bring you more and even better content. Thank you for your support, fam. We really appreciate you. So let's continue on with this article. The $1 trillion infrastructure bill, which passed in the Senate in early August and is expected to be approved by the House, is the gift that keeps on giving. At first, it was about roads, bridges, and clean water. Then, a pay-for provision promised to give American crypto users a new tax reporting requirement. And now there's a new twist. A report published today by the Proof of Stake Alliance, an advocacy group that counts Coinbase Custody and Solana as members, details an, quote, overlooked amendment in the tax code within the 2,700-page bill that will make it a felony to incorrectly report receiving cryptocurrencies, NFTs, or other digital assets. What? I have to report on NFTs that I bought? Like, don't they know that NFTs are like part of like online games? So you get the Sword of Damocles, in some new game, and you bought it so that you could kill the dwarf, and then you sell the sword to somebody else so they can kill dwarves. That's an IRS reporting event now? Just trading swords in games? Like, this is the nonsensical. This is insane. This is totally insane. But let me continue. Somebody named Abraham Sutherland tweeted, "The infrastructure bill passed by the Senate and now pending in the House contains an overlooked, quote, digital assets provision that would be a disaster if it becomes law. Tell me about it." Writing his sole role as an advisor for POSA, a law professor, Abraham Sutherland, details how the infrastructure bill amends section 60501 of the tax code. The amended section 6045 that caused so much consternation when it made it through the Senate changed the definition of broker to cover those handling cryptocurrencies. We just talked about that. Industry lobbyists and cryptocurrency advocates such as think tank Coin Center argued that the bill as written would force Bitcoin miners and validators on other networks to file 1099 forms for the people whose transactions they were processing, even though they lack the personal information needed to do so. Section 60501, on the other hand, deals with the tax reporting requirements of those who ultimately receive the cryptocurrencies. While Americans must already report their crypto gains to the IRS just as they would with any other investment, Sutherland says the amended provision goes much further. They must tell the government who sent it, including reporting social security numbers when the value of the digital assets is more than $10,000. Not doing so within 15 days constitutes a felony. We're going to be doing Fed time for trading swords in crypto games. Crazy. Continuing. This raises at least two issues. First, as Sutherland notes, it's just as unwieldy as the Section 6045 amendment. Quote, this provision demands the impossible because the digital assets might not be received from a person whose personally identifiable information can be verified and reported, including cases where the digital assets are not received from a person or entity with a tax ID number, period. Like, you could be receiving it from a smart contract, and the smart contract could be completely decentralized, not owned by anyone or affiliated with anyone. That's why it's called decentralization. That's why it's called disintermediation. These people are making laws about something that they just don't understand. And that is pure folly. Anyway, let's continue. Second, as Sutherland alludes to, and as Coin Center Research Director Peter Van Valkenburg hammered home in a blog post, it might just be unconstitutional. The tax code currently mandates that people report such information to the IRS when they receive $10,000 in cash. That passes constitutional muster because the bank acts as a third party. Otherwise, authorities would need a warrant under the Fourth Amendment. But in cryptocurrency, a peer-to-peer transaction doesn't have there's no third party in a peer-to-peer transaction. Writes Van Valkenburg. One person to a two-person transaction is obligated to collect a load of sensitive information from her counterparty and hand that to the government officials without any warrant or reasonable suspicion of wrongdoing. End quote. Though he writes that Coin Center usually doesn't object to equal treatment of cash and cryptocurrencies, in this case the provision is a draconian surveillance rule that should have been ruled unconstitutional long ago. Extending it to cryptocurrency transactions would further erode the privacy of law-abiding Americans. Sutherland also calls into question the process by which the amended IRS code will become law, via a bill on completely unrelated topics. Quote, a statute creating felony crimes for users of digital assets should be debated openly, not quietly inserted into a spending bill, he wrote. And I couldn't agree more. Like, this is foul. Like, this is going to have a tremendous impact on all of us. I think I read or heard that, somewhere between 15 and 20%, of Americans are holders of some form of cryptocurrency or crypto asset. And it's only going to increase. And when you think about the fact that, in the future, your driver's license might be an NFT, right? There's all kinds of documents that aren't necessarily, monetary value that can be NFTs. All an NFT is an indication of ownership. An NFT in and of itself is not a financial instrument. It's not a financial asset necessarily. I mean, my driver's license is valuable. It's important, but I wouldn't characterize, my driver's license in the form of an NFT as a financial asset that I should be reporting to the IRS because I received it, right? And there are many such use cases that we can already think of that have already been thought of. And there's tons of use cases that haven't even been thought of yet. So this is just banana, Joe. Like, to use MC Light's phrase, I cram to understand. I really do. This is short-sighted. It's knee-jerk. This is, the people who are trying to implement these policies, I don't think are doing it on their own. It's not like some huge problem presented itself and they're trying to resolve it. This feels totally like the work of lobbyists for special interests, trying to squeeze some benefit in or curtail their competitors. You shouldn't be paying for your infrastructure bill on the backs of small businesses, on the backs of entrepreneurs trying to innovate, for this country. If anything, you should be paying for your infrastructure bill on these multi-billion, or trillion-dollar value, valuation. I'm sorry, these companies with trillion-dollar, market capitalizations. Pay for this infrastructure bill on their backs. Leave us small entrepreneurs alone, It's just foul. So yeah, that's it, fam. When you think about it, the Democrats are in control of the White House. They control the Senate, and they control the House of Representatives. On all three fronts, they're attacking blockchain innovation and crypto, and they own this, and they're driving it hard. So, it is what it is. I do hope, some heroes emerge that can block some of this stuff. But we'll wait and see. Anyway, that's it for this topic. I will see you the next time I pull up on the block. Until then, holla.